Welcome to another Silicon Labs podcast. Today we'll be discussing our latest PoE updates for powered devices, and joining us is the product manager for PoE, Charlie Ice. How are you doing today, Charlie?
I'm great, Isaac. Nice to be here.
Well, thanks for joining us. And in addition, we also have Senior Field Applications Engineer Mike Yrenaya, who has some questions for Charlie regarding PoE. With those intros out of the way, I'll go ahead and let Mike take it away.
Yeah, sure. Thanks, Isaac. Hi, everyone. Good morning. So, there are a lot of things being in the field. I'm being a senior FE that we encounter a lot of things in the market that we try to position our products as best we can. And I was really looking forward to the discussion with Charlie to kind of alleviate some of the questions that I had, and hopefully those are questions that the audience has as well. One of the things, just to start off the conversation, Charlie, is perhaps maybe you can kind of give us some insight as to the history of Scilabs and the PoE market. I know we've had some devices in the market for a long time, and with the new products now, we're kind of poised to move forward further. But from humble beginnings, I guess, is one of the stories that I've always been curious about.
Yeah, that's a good question, Mike. We have been in the PoE market for almost a decade now and shipped over 50 million Power over Ethernet chips to our customers. And it's a fairly interesting story in that we really were not in this market at all before. And years ago, we realized that we had some unique high voltage technology that was working for many of our other products, like isolation. And we looked at that and realized there was a large market for other high voltage technologies. And PoE was a great fit because PoE does need high voltage input on the input stage from the Ethernet controller. And we had some unique DC-DC converter technology as well. So we were able to marry the two of those together to put together a really compelling product for our customers years ago with the 3402 power device Ethernet chip and with our power sourcing chips that we have out in the market today. And from there, it's really taken off and been a very successful business for us that ties nicely into, like I said, our high voltage technology that we have today and our DC-DC converter technology.
Yeah, I mean, it seems really in line with what Scilab's expertise has been, the mixed signal aspect especially. And of course, it takes advantage of the technology that we already have in-house, the expertise that we have in-house. And I think also, looking at the roadmap moving forward, we're going to continue that tradition of kind of really using that technology. I mean, can you elaborate on maybe what the new products coming down the line are going to be around?
Yes, absolutely, Mike. We are involved with the IEEE committee that is defining the next generation PoE spec, which is called 802.3 BT. And that spec brings the power level of PoE up to 100 watts of power. And we have a membership on that committee and are actively helping define the specification and working to get it ratified the end of the summer, early fall timeframe. So you can imagine we are definitely working on new products that will be addressing that new spec and helping customers reach those high power levels.
Yeah, I mean, the engagement sounds really kind of a very serious effort in terms of, exploiting our technology and moving deeper and deeper into the PoE market. And in the short term, are there products soon to be available or available now that expand on the original parts that we had?
Yes, yes, that is exactly right. We just released 2 new products in February for the existing PoE standards that go up to 30 watts of power. We have a very low-cost 3404, which is a 15-watt device, and then we have the 3406 family, which allows us to get up to 30 watts of power to the device under being powered. And the great thing about both those products is we have a lot of integration onto the chip. So we are able to integrate most of the high voltage components that are expensive and that customers have to put external typically onto the chip. So the diode bridge, the protection diode, and the DC-DC switching FET, all 3 of those are on chip in the 3406. And then the switching FET and the high voltage protection diode are on the 3404. And that's where you were talking about mixed signal is one of our key advantages. And that's a key advantage for us is that we have the ability and technology to do all that on-chip integration, as well as do the digital interfacing and the DC-DC control on a single chip.
Yeah, again, it kind of continues the tradition of that made the 3402 such a long-standing part in our catalog. So, I mean, this is great. The 3404 sounds like a real viable product for different markets, as well as the 3406 family. That I think we're going to address really a lot of different applications. In terms of those applications, though, do you see the evolution of the market also kind of coinciding with our catalog?
Definitely, Mike. Right now, the base of the market is IP phones, security cameras, and wireless access points. And IP phones right now are looking to become more efficient, so they don't use all that much power. They're typically 15 watts or below, but they want to become more and more power efficient and get their power draw low. And so that plays really well into our higher efficiency 3406 and our low cost 3404 that we just released. In the security camera world, they're looking to add a whole lot more features that do image recognition, move the camera around automatically, and track objects and people automatically in the camera, so it can identify to the operator that there's a person, they've crossed a zone that's supposed to be restricted, alert, go take some action. And all those things take power. So the security camera are looking to add more features and will need more power, just like our portfolio is moving towards. And then wireless access points are the same way. As we have new standards for 802.11, where they need more radios, MIMO, higher frequencies, all these require more and more power. And as the PoE market moves towards those higher power standards, we are also doing the same thing. So like you said, it really does line up quite well with the way we are evolving our Power over Ethernet portfolio.
Yeah, again, another point that's really good news. I mean, to be perfectly honest, for us in sales, to put it plainly, we often like more stuff to sell. And this really expands our catalog not only into a market that maybe wasn't getting as much attention, but it really makes us a viable participator in this space. I think when we go up against competitors and when we kind of uncover customers, we'll engage with them not only in the products that we have, but hopefully the level of support as well. So in terms of the opportunities and how we go about it, to me it seems like we can open the conversation with basically anything that has an Ethernet port. I mean, is that safe to say, or do you think that question is a little bit oversimplified when we engage with our customers?
Well, Mike, when I started out at Silicon Labs working on PoE, I initially would have said that question is probably pretty overblown. But the more I dive into the market and the more I learn about the different use cases, the more I think that's actually a pretty decent question. In other words, we found customers that are using Power over Ethernet to power door locks and building door badge readers. We've also found customers that want to do lighting with Power over Ethernet, so add data and power to LED light fixtures. And then we've seen some customers that are even doing audio control panels with Power over Ethernet. And it really is amazing how varied the market is, and that there's a large part of the market that's really new and growing, that's not just phones, wireless access points, and cameras. There's a lot of the market that's really starting to see the value of standard Ethernet cable, and especially with some of the new power levels that PoE can get to, they're able to do a lot more creative things with it. And that's a great segue into an area that's new and developing. Cisco is really pushing this digital building concept, where they want to take as much of the building as possible that runs on AC power today and convert that to running on Power over Ethernet, because Cat5 Ethernet cable is dirt cheap, and it can be run by any IT guy. It doesn't have to be pulled by an electrician, which is what you have to do with AC cable today. And so their vision is, what if the light fixtures, the badge readers, the cameras, temperature sensors, kind of lower power HVAC systems, what if all of those ran on Power over Ethernet and they were all smart because they have data through Power over Ethernet and just standard Ethernet cable? And what if they all had one central system where they could be monitored and controlled and then take intelligent action as independent devices? And obviously for Cisco, that means people would buy lots of Cisco routers and add lots of Ethernet ports to connect all of those things. So it's a really neat part of the market that's beginning to expand and grow. that's kind of a emerging market for Power over Ethernet that we are able to now address with our new products, and will continue to address as we find as the Power over Ethernet standard grows into the BT spec with more and more power levels.
Yeah, I mean, it just sort of kind of makes sense. I mean, we're going to be living in a very, if we're not already in a very connected world, that making use of already installed base would just make sense overall. And I guess, as we move into better parts with better efficiency and higher power, we can be more and more, our customers or our designers can be more and more ambitious with what they actually do with it. Given that though, like let's say, that we do have new customers and maybe they've never done a PoE type application before. What level of support can they expect, from us? I mean, obviously, the field will be very well trained up, but does it need to be, in your experience and in your opinion, do you think that the level of support needs to be go beyond that? Because I imagine that there'll be some kind of new groundbreaking type applications that might require some more insight than what we have available. So, again, what level of support can we provide for those customers?
Yeah, Mike, we've tried to approach that on a couple different levels. So first, we found that many of our customers have trouble with the DC to DC converter part of the Power over Ethernet system. So typically, well, in a PoE system, you have 50 volts coming in, and most of the time your end application doesn't need 50 volts. So you have to step it down to 5 or 10 or 12 or whatever the actual system is using. And so that DC to DC converter can be difficult to get to work and to be efficient, and then more importantly, to pass emissions testing for regulatory requirements. So to work around some of that, we've created 5 different references or reference designs / evaluation boards that customers can buy that are designed to be easy to copy and paste. So a customer can just use our power supply design in their end application. And we've had all of our EVBs tested for emissions, and they've all passed. So if a customer copy and pastes our power supply design into their design, they have a very good chance of having that overall design pass, or at least not have the DC to DC converter be the problem. So we've tried to make it easy for customers to get up and running and leverage the work we've already done in their own designs. But if that doesn't work, or if they need additional support, we actually have a dedicated apps team that is dedicated to Power over Ethernet for both the power sourcing equipment, so the switch side, and the power device side on the other end of the cable, that's ready to support customers and is actually actively engaged with customers right now, working on taking our reference designs and making them into a supply for an end product.
Yeah, I mean, again, I think we're covering all bases here. It looks like this product line has a real potential to add to Scilab's existing success. I mean, the product in and of itself, while PoE was maybe viewed as standalone in some cases where the customers were well identified and unique, I think that this has the potential to stretch the breadth of any type of customers. And, given the current Scilab's product line where we go from, the IoT, the Internet of Things type products all the way to, infrastructure and automotive type products, I think, as you mentioned before, that, breaching the subject and just simply asking the question, if there's an Ethernet port on there, are they using PoE, is enough to really get the thoughts rolling and really open up some new opportunities.
Definitely, I think you actually recently ran into a customer where we were focused on the Bluetooth module side, and then all of a sudden we realized that they had to connect that Bluetooth module to something on the other end, and it turned out it was a Ethernet cable that was using PoE. So I think that was actually a pretty good customer you ran into recently.
Yeah, that's exactly
how we keep finding, if there is, the Power of Ethernet is really part of the Internet of Things. It's just a connected Internet of Things device.
Yeah, I agree. And, I'd like to take credit for that opportunity, but, sometimes it's better to be lucky than good. We saw the Ethernet port and we just simply asked, are they using PoE? And the answer was yes. And, there's a couple instances too that sometimes it goes the other way where maybe some customers aren't aware that we even offer a PoE. Like I said, it's always been kind of not necessarily ignored, but it was always a quiet product in the Scilab's portfolio. So I think, raising awareness and letting people know our offering, especially now with the new catalog, I think we got a lot of great things that we could tout for PoE. And from a partnership or a customer standpoint, I'd like to think that, PoE is sort of what I call like a sticky device, Once it's designed in, it has a tendency to stay there for quite a long time. And then, as we evolve our catalog, the customers will evolve along with us and move into the next generation that we start to release. So I think the first ones are always tough, but the ones after that, I think with success, will just continue on and really see the potential of these products.
Yes, I agree.
Yeah, so I think we've covered a lot. I thought this was a great discussion. I mean, Isaac, what did you think? Do you think you have any other thoughts as kind of someone just watching this conversation? I think we covered a lot of good ground here.
Yeah, I think you guys did a great job, and there's some excellent dialogue regarding these new updates or the opposite end of the cable. I just like to thank you guys again for joining us, and I know I look forward to more updates from our power and isolation team.
Thank you, Isaac.
Yeah, thanks, Charlie. This was a great conversation. Appreciate it.